Sissy, and press the same button.
Okay. Thank you for watching here on YouTube live at Blooming Light at Blooming's Tribe. If you're logging in on their original air, so you can see that it's gonna be, what is today? Friday, August the, bear with me, August the 29th.
29.
I got it. August the 29th of 2025. It is approximately 5:06 p.m. Central Standard Time
Out, Mom.
in the United States of America in Beaumont, Texas. But if you happen to be logging in live at another date and time, just thank you for watching. So if any of you saw the last two lives, and it gave a lot of clarity about a lot of these targeted populations, okay, that it of course starts with their upbringing, their caretakers, the family, and then it morphs dysfunctional dynamics and relationships. And like in a little bit of confusion as to why, like, okay, they're like, yeah, I heard all of that, I hear all of that, but why such cruelty? Since people are seeing, or some people are starting to really look into and recognize like how inhumane some of this behavior is, okay, how involved, and it's like, okay, I heard you what you said, but why the cruelty though? Like, is there another way to basically rob somebody of stuff without this elaborate consistent elaborate cruelty? So that's why I'm coming in with this video, because I've been saying this and a lot of folks have taken offense over the years. I've gotten all sorts of comments, and been a creator even before Texas, okay? In terms of, well, who, you're not a doctor, you're not a licensed physician, you're not, I've heard, and I'm not the only content creator who talks about this stuff, by the way. And they're not all licensed psychiatrists, okay? And neither here nor there, okay? Neither here nor there. But I got a lot of slack, and which I expected, because I mean, I don't really care. I expected that. And but when you're somebody who has lived on this side and you have had to go to counsel, you have had to study it, you have had to educate yourself, you have had to do all those things, because it's you that's experiencing. This is not some class you're just taking for college credit. It's not just some, you know, interest that you have so that you can talk about it like everybody else. You know what I'm saying? It's your life as you start to unravel and go, what the hell? Because it's easy for anybody to tell folks how to think, how to feel, what to do, but when they're not, I'm sorry, excuse me, when they're not the ones living this kind of stuff out. So I'm going to talk about, there's your answer. This is why. Though it's hard to swallow and accept, at some point there's going to be people that have to call into question, why such cruelty? Why such elaboration? There's got to be a deeper reason. There's got to be a more elaborate. Listen, you have people who rob homes. I'm going to give some physical examples. There are folks out here who are criminals, right? And, so we have, just play with that. You have people out here that they'll go rob a home, or, they'll go and thing, or whatever the case may be, but it kind of drops. It's like the it's taking and it drops. There's no extra oomph on it, okay, to add layers of cruelty to it. There's no oomph. It's just this, we want this and we're taking it, okay. Others out there, they're a little bit more in depth in their criminality, because that's when you have what they call what is that term they say? I forget it, but it's like when it's like basically it was meant, like this was supposed to be, it wasn't supposed to be just taking this from this person or this group or this whatever. This was meant to be drug out and hostile. It was meant to be torturous. It was meant. It wasn't just about we mad and we feel like we should have that, and so we gonna take that. You know what I'm saying? And that's one thing. Not that that's good, okay? But I'm proving a point. Who wants to get into cruelty and torture? What kind of mind? And see, people don't want, that's a place nobody wants to go. I guarantee you that this is a place, what I just said, this is an area no one wants to look at. Nobody. Because unfortunately, it's going to point to some real deep ugliness in a whole lot of people that they don't want to believe that they possibly are. Who gets off on torture? Bullies. Why is that offensive to hear? I even wonder why are even people bothered by that? Who gets off on long, extended, torturing somebody? After having restricted everything and taken everything from the person or the people, people are going to have to ask this serious question. Narcissism, psychopathy, sociopathy, Machiavellians, sadists. Whether people, the funny part is like before there was a clinician and anybody to diagnose, there was energy. It says here, abuse by proxy. And that's where I was really going. See, a narcissist and narcissistic types, okay, they do not give up. And if you call yourself getting away from them, they will find a way to get to you. They don't tell people a lot about post, no contact abuse. Everything mostly in mainstream is pushing to help people because most people never really are able to get past the unraveling of themselves, because it's like the addiction is like being on heroin. The trauma bond is cemented, okay? At least that's what the studies say. That's what the studies show. And so majority of the topics and the data is really geared on that process, but not so much about people who do eventually work their asses off good and plenty hard, even stripping themselves bare naked damn near in the name of it. And they go there. But nobody talks about this post no contact. And so when you're dealing with a serial narc, a serial sociopath, psychopath type entitled, to your person, your personage. When I mean your person, I'm saying they're entitled to you. See, that's what this is. They're entitled to you and yours. And they're entitled to have access to you and yours, which involves anything to do with you and yours. They are entitled. And when you want to go on a spiritual energy side, that same thing applies. That's why they rape you. See, this stuff is insidious in this sense because on the spiritual energetic side, you know, this ain't something that you're going to just go down to the river or get some, you know, some shit and then go take it to the sheriff's office. What you gonna say? What you gonna, okay? In that respect. But it's still just as bad, if not worse. Because your energetic system, no matter how ignorant the masses are about that, plays a big time role in the health and vibrancy, vitality of you. So the reason for such a cruelty is this: abuse by proxy, the anger at the collectives of folks who had managed to be able to go no contact and stay no contact. And not only the no contact, the survivors who have the courage to tell their story. That's their retaliation as well. Going no contact and then having the audacity to tell what they've been doing to you. That's why. They don't give up. They don't simply say, oh, well, I guess we're done abusing because, you know, they moved across the country. I guess, you know, it's time to go ahead and close up shop because, you know, they don't live here anymore. They're always seeking revenge. They feel entitled to you. When an individual uses others, intentionally or not, to exert control over or inflict harm on someone, and child abuse by proxy is when an adult, okay, blah, 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 misarrangement, okay. Since it doesn't always present as direct aggression, it can be particularly damaging, absolutely, this is where we're going, to a person's sense of safety and identity. Okay. Let's go here. Abuse by proxy occurs when an abuser manipulates others to participate in or carry out acts that causes harm to a targeted individual. These proxies might include close friends, extended family members, medical professionals, therapists, law enforcement. Okay, now with that being said, I'm sharing this from this website, BetterHelp, here because, again, many people ask, so as you apply this to the last two videos I just did and this whole topic, it's going to make a whole lot of sense why they infiltrated, you know, government stuff, housing authority, landlords, law, because that's where, again, okay, They can carry out their abuse by proxy. Okay? It says sometimes these proxies, the individuals participating in the abuse, may be fully aware of the involvement. Sometimes they're not, though, and that's the part that I'm going to get to. Oftentimes, yes, because if they share toxicity, okay, if they share commonality in that way, but sometimes they don't. Sometimes they're tricked. Because we got to keep going back to narcissism. They have a goal. So if that means they have to fool you too, then so be it. Okay? Their intended goal is to be able to abuse by proxy. So if they have to lie to you about the target to get you to do it, then they'll do that too. Okay? If they have to lie to you about who they are in order to get you to do it, they'll do that as well. Because the bottom line is their goal is to be a problem for the target. Okay. Okay, we're talking about enablers. Okay. They are being pulled into a narrative designed to control or isolate the target. This manipulation tactic is often seen in situations involving emotional abuse and high conflict separations or custodies. Okay, telling false, exaggerated stories. Yep. To isolate someone from support. Repeatedly calling the police. Let's get to the next one. Convincing them they need to watch. Ooh. Yes, sir. That they need to watch or report target's actions. These behaviors aren't always easy to detect from the outside. Of course not. Especially when this is masked as concern or protection. That's what my people were good for. That's part of what makes this form of abuse complex. Anyone involved in a situation with an emotionally manipulative person can be affected by abuse by proxy. Targets of domestic violence, correct. Here we go. Emotional abuse. Good gravy. Those signs are rarely obvious, and they aren't. I can tell you that right now. They're rarely obvious. That's a part of the problem. That's why this shit goes on for so long. There are some possible indicators of the presence of this manipulation, such as close relationships breaking down due to sudden unverified claims, third parties involving themselves in intimate matters without a clear role, unfounded calls to authorities, yes, like CPS or law enforcement. Being constantly surveilled, monitored by people that they once trusted. Yep. And when a person begins to feel like they are always being watched, judged, or reported on, it could lead to a heightened state of anxiety, which is what they want. Because we're talking about abuse by proxy. Since you don't want to be here, we'll find a way to get to you. to do what we would do. We're going to find our bodies that are near you. Over time, the effects on mental health can become even more significant. How narcissists retaliate.
Who's say, huh?
Via procedural, yes sir, and legal. 5 ways narcissists weaponize punitive institutional policies. See, now they're talking about legal abuse. See, that folks got to get with it. Legal abuse consists of covert, institutionalized tactics of power and control, and weaponizes policy and protocols in retaliatory ways. Making false reports.
Damn.
Filing petitions for involuntary commitment to mental health facilities. Using discovery requests to share embarrassing or irrelevant things about the target. Filing appeals to reopen and relitigate settled cases. This is a form of psychological abuse. And I'm going to keep saying this stuff because, again, a lot of folks are surface and flat as it pertains to, you know, manipulative tactics. And it's like it's everything. This form of psychological abuse weaponizes what? What are they going to weaponize? What are they going to weaponize? What are they going to weaponize? Policies and protocols for retaliatory ways, and can play out in courtrooms and human resource offices, immigration detention centers, mental health hospitals. To silence their victim, to make them basically feel alienated, afraid, ashamed. The formal and authoritative nature of investigatory proceedings can pressure victims to doubt whether they are actually innocent, a form of self-gaslighting. Because they gaslight you. I got examples of that when I have contacted several people in my situation. But since I've been dealing with this kind of shit for so long, I picked it up. Okay. Once again, this is still abuse by proxy. And this is why this thrives. There's a whole lot of enablers that basically keeps this going. Okay. It's always an enabler. It's always at least one. Okay. It supports the narc no matter what. Obedience is what narcissists require. They're not saying that, of course, especially if they're trying to come off as something different. But the bottom line, they do. This is why I say they usually run in packs. This is something I've noticed. And this is why. Shielding them from their consequences. Just saw that at the bottom. A narcissist, wait, hold up. Okay, never mind. Oh, the enabler's delusions. Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, because we've all been on that end at some point, though. You know, the enabler's side. Okay. Yeah, these are the excuses we all make. For a long time. And again, I'm sharing this again. Can I diagnose? Well, not in this physical. Neither do I need to, though. And neither do y'all out there. Because at the end of the day, it comes down to you knowing what the hell you're dealing with. Period. And most narcs aren't going to, you know, we have to really take into account when people talk about can somebody clinically diagnose the DSM-5 and, you know what I'm saying, all of that, we have to take into account first and foremost, they can usually manipulate a lot of these clinicians and practitioners if they're not well experienced, okay, versed and trained, because it's insidious. First and foremost, that just needs to be said. On top of the fact that I don't know why we don't take this into account too. Some therapists and clinicians themselves could actually be narcissists, but that's another day and another video. It's about us knowing, you know, instead of handing over our power to somebody else that we may not ever actually get the help, learning how to navigate this stuff. And it's true. It says enablers of narcissists usually come from narcissistic homes. Absolutely. That's why we don't see it. Or environments where we've basically learned how to subjugate our needs. Yep, absolutely. The alcoholics, that's a classic. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah, buddy. So try not to stick too hard on the label. You know, as much, not so much as to, you know what I'm saying, hold on, what did I do? Did I switch it to the wrong? Rotate? Okay, I'm rotating. I think I did something. Or I didn't. Oh, oops, that's not what I meant. Let me finish this up. Oh. I must have clicked something because it showed. There it is. Boom, nigga. Okay, so try as y'all come in here, you know, I'm sharing this for the world. I'm sharing this for the people out here that you're maybe going through some towers to come into the knowledge of this happening to somebody. Okay? And maybe you're getting the proofs and truths about some stuff that they really fought hard to make sure no one knew. Okay? And it's hard to swallow that. And I think I'm sharing it for that reason. For the world, it's hard for us. But if it helps, try to get away from the need to fuck the term, focus on the behavior. Because that's the bottom line. Okay, whether or not somebody is technically that, according to the DSM-5, really have no relevance in a sense of if the behaviors and patterns and all of the things that we're talking about is present. That's all we need to know. Because again, cruelty. We got to ask the questions. What type of beings are into that drawn out cruelty?
Now to change this.
Child.
It's actually going up a lot.
And what's this say? Trauma bonding. Oh, yeah.
Neo.
Yes. And before I even say that, I want to get into like my stance on what I call trauma bonding or bonded through trauma. And I know they sound the same, but for me, now again, like this part, I have to say may just very well be my own opinion. Like trauma bonding is where you're in an abusive relationship and it's a part of the abuse cycle. And the conditioning happened in that abuse cycle, which you become addicted to via the abuse cycle, the ups and downs of all of that, the fight and fuck and, you know, makeup and the adrenaline, all because there's chemicals that's, you know, there's stuff happening when you're doing that repetitively. And it creates a trauma bond, to my understanding. Now, bonding through trauma, shared like experiences and trauma to me is similar, but it's more about people who have a trauma bond in life, maybe have some wounds because of it. And so there's this tendency to come together and bond through that type of, you know, like pain, suffering, shared experience, and like, ooh, you know, blase. Okay. Hold on one second. Either way, trauma bonds, they're hard. It's hard to unravel because it is biochemical. It's psychological, but it's biochemical, it's quantum, it's energetic. The science behind it so far, I don't have the updates, but the science behind it so far says that coming out of narcissistic abuse relationships or deeply traumatizing trauma bonds is like trying to kick, if you were an addict, it's like trying to kick Karen. It's yes, which can come off as, depending on what your culture and your background is. Think about this. depending on what our upbringing is, depending on what our levels of understanding and all those other things, could very well come off as deep love. Because how come I can't stay away from this person no matter how badly they treat me, no matter how bad this is for me, no matter I look like I'm hell ran over 5 times. You know, how come I can't, you know? But anyway, it says typically a narcissist manipulates an enabler through alternating abuse and special treatment. Yeah, that's basically what I was just saying. So that's the cycle, okay? But now they want to talk about enablers versus flying monkeys. Now this part is going to be interesting. The flying monkeys are enablers, but they perpetrate the narcissist abuse on the targeted victims. Let's see what else they have to say. Like flying monkeys in The Wizard of Oz, they assist in the narcissist's dirty work and they carry out abuse by proxy. So the flying monkeys are the carrier outers, okay, of the abuse by proxy. They're doing the dirty work. There is a fine line between enabling and acting as a flying monkey. Often enablers cross that line to avoid being the target. I knew that too, baby. I knew that too. I knew that a lot of folks really knew and know the truth, and a lot of their behavior was a saving their own ass kind of shit. Like they didn't want what was being done to me and my son to be done to them. Okay, so it says enablers cross that line to avoid being targeted themselves or because they are invested in believing the delusions and the lies that justifies the narcissist abuse of others, particularly scapegoated children. Oh, hello. For such children, the betrayal of the enabling parent may be harder to accept and forgive. Okay, there you go. Need support. Okay. So I think this is where they're getting into some other things there. But anywho, as I sit here, energy was already being sent to me. See, I want to talk about this spiritual, religious, and energetic narcissism, all of that. These are the things that my son and I, and many others like myself, live every fucking day. Every day. When I go on videos, because most of them are following, I've already patterned, especially here in Texas. Most of them are already waiting, searching every moment for when I may upload or go live. They have people in place for it. They got 24/7 to do it. That's their job. So when I come on, I can tell, they'll start doing the playing in the energy and all of that. They're doing it anyway, but as they're guided or whatever, okay, they start to do more. They'll start to bump, if they had stopped bumping and making noise. Well, if they're told to do it, or if they're guided to do it, or if they're triggered by something, then they'll do the bumping. I don't care at this point. I've already found creative ways to just bypass. I'm continuing to find creative ways just because that we ain't, no. We're not going to do that. So they can bump until they bumper don't work anymore. I already said it earlier today. I was like, oh, shit, let's party just getting started. Fuck it. Because, it just is what it is. It is what it is. Back to, the topic. I mean, because again, these are people participating in this cruel behavior. So that tells you that these people don't got the sense either. That's what it tells you. But these are also the same people, when they get their turn, is going to be crying a river. But that lapse of conscious understanding baffles me. You can participate in cruelty to somebody else, but when it's something cruel to you and yours, you're going to be crying. Anywho, back to the topic. Let's wrap her up. That's the answer for those of you who this video is actually for out there. The whole point is to be cruel. I think I even have a picture. It says it was for cruelty. Because some people don't get that. Why not just steal? Why not just take what you want? Why not just, even though you shouldn't be doing that? Well, because that's not what this is about. This is a hatred. This is unnatural passions to harm. That's unnatural. And especially as it comes to people that took care of you, that you grow up with, or kin folks, or any of that, that's not natural. It is not natural to want to torture a disabled person. It's not natural. That's not normal. That's not a godly cause, spiritual, I don't know, whatever's up, the noggins of these people. That's not natural. It's unnatural passions to want to be cruel to people. Especially innocent. Oh, where's that picture? I can't find it. Because it said it was for cruelty. I was trying to pull it up. It doesn't matter at this point because we're done. Yeah. And so they're going to go around the world. That's why I'm kind of glad things are unfolding the way it is, because I've been trying to get to, I'm like, that my people need to be linked, because until we do that, this shit is going to continue on. It's going to continue on until we link their ass in this shit. Because that's a part of the main problem. They're not all of it, but they are a big part of the main problem. Their obsession with hurting me and my son. And they're going to make up any story they need to around the globe to weak minds or unsuspecting minds or easily controlled and manipulated minds. They're sophisticated in that respect. They know how to find a targeted population for their cause. So they're going to search out all of the collectives, the targeted populations. What they'll do is search on anybody who don't like them. That's one of the main go-tos, because they can really work with that. They'll be eager. Anybody who don't like them. Anybody who has a different religious or philosophical bent, they're usually going to be eager. Competitors in their industry that's got insecurity they're usually going to be very eager. They know what they're doing. They know full well, exactly. Because I guarantee you, certain ones, y'all got to start paying attention for yourself. There's certain types of people that they're not recruiting. Put it like that. There's certain types of individuals that they are not seeking out, that they are not recruiting, that they are not asking. And it's a reason for that. Because in those cases, usually those, if they reach out to the wrong ones, them's going to be the people who tell them about themselves, make them feel real bad. They're going to clown. They may even threaten. You know what I'm saying? And they'd be concerned about that because it's like, oh, okay, they may out me. So they try to be very selective on who they recruit. They mess up only a couple times. Usually they get it right. But they mess up every blue moon, misjudge a situation every blue moon when they're recruiting somebody. And that's usually when they have to abuse that person. They have to find a way to hurt that person before that person can say anything. So if somebody, let's say for an example, if somebody don't want to take their offer and they were sure that they would be willing to do it, and that person say, oh my God, I can't believe, wooty woo. So in order to cover up their reputation, they may very well kill the person if they can. Whether it be by poison, by spell work, by, all of the above. Because they don't want that person telling the other person or saying anything. I wouldn't be surprised if that's what happened to my son's father. Look, I ain't trying to make him out, because he's passed on. I'm not trying to make him out to be like the world's greatest father or some kind of a saint or, because people have a tendency to do that when people die, like, oh, they were shit the whole time. And then all of a sudden, like you singing a whole nother song because they died, but I'm not trying to do that in this case. Okay. But I wouldn't be surprised if that's what they did to my son's daddy. Because listen, I told y'all the story that this is back, before my son's father died. This was back in earlier, like January 2019, or maybe the end of 2018. Okay, because he died, I want to say February, I think, 2019. So this is one of the, oh my God. Anyway, I don't remember the full conversation, you guys. It was a long time ago. I can't remember how that even came up at all. This is before he passed. And she was telling me that he saw her. She said that he saw her on Facebook. Okay, this is what she was telling me over the phone. Okay. She was like, oh, I saw Senior, or Senior saw me on, and that's what we call my son's dad, my son's late dad, because he's Junior. So I think she said something like, we saw Senior, or I saw Senior on Facebook, or he saw me and, he inboxed me or something like that. And like, he was hitting on me. And she was like, wooty wooty woo, as if he wouldn't. Anyway, but like, in this case, it's very hard to not see that we're related. In this case, it's very challenging to not see that. Okay. So she was like, I'm so and so, and blah blah blah. I'm your sister-in-law, blah blah blah. And he was like, she said he was like, oh, blah blah blah. I don't know why she was telling me this, and he was like, but please don't say anything, which I doubt. But anyway, and I was like, okay, because I didn't care. First and foremost, me and the man had been divorced. Y'all got to know the full backdrop, okay? He was my high school sweetheart. We got married. We had our son, okay? And we were both super, super young. And we had separated and divorced when our son was like 8 months old. So, and we didn't go through like, how some people they broke up and then they end up getting married or getting back together. No, we stayed broke up. Okay. We stayed broke up, and yeah, it wasn't like that. We were not that type of a broken up or divorced couple. It wasn't like that. So I didn't have any. There was any romantic lingering things, or there was anything like that. So I was kind of like, okay, and so I was like, okay, well, okay. It didn't sit right. I'm not gonna lie. I remember I didn't believe it. Something didn't sit right. Not that, like I said, I'm not painting him out to be a saint or anything like that, or but he knew the family for a long time, and see, that's an element that's important. Okay, it was kind of like growing up. I was a teenager. He was a teenager. We dated in high school and then we got married and had our son. And but then guess what? I'm saying this for a reason, believe it or not. Within a couple of months at most, he's dead. Within a couple of months after she told me that she had talked with him or some shit like that. It was weird. She said she had talked with him and blase, and how he had hit on her and all that. And a few months later, he dead. Dead. He dropped dead at his job. After that encounter with her. After that encounter with her. See, we're talking about abuse because maybe it was more to do with he didn't take the offer. I'm not saying that this necessarily happened in this same fashion. It could have even been not so much that he didn't take an offer. This could have been that, because this person's obsession with being with people that I've been with is mind-blowing. So in this case, it could have been, he could have known that she could have known, I'm sorry, that he wouldn't participate in any torture or anything, because goodness gracious, this his baby mama, his son's mama. Okay. But she could have been hoping that he would fuck her. Yes, I said that. For no other reason, because we have to look at what this is. We have to accept it. Just as sure as shit, we have to accept the cruelty for what that is. The obsession with trying to hurt me, but also with this weird sense of being able to fuck who I fucked or some shit. Because that's derive a lot of their power, by the way. They harness and harvest a lot of these men's energies, as well as the women that these men are sleeping with, especially if some of them are sleeping with honorable feminine. And that is their way of getting some kind of entanglement within the energy. That is also their way of the cruelty, the betrayal, because that's what they own, nigga. That's what they own. And the sick old part about, I think my son's father would See, let me tell you something about what they've hated. This is a part of what they've been trying to take away. Since when Facebook was booming and the bomb back in the days and shit. Okay? I had content, and me and my son's father, we did stay in contact, like in the social medias over the years. For a while we did. Okay? And I would do uploads. Y'all remember how this went? And he would be one of the many that was always commenting. She's been trolling me since social media was a thing. And one of the things that aggravated her and her crew was people sharing compliments. Like I guess that's a 4-letter word. Oh my gosh. Like what kind of, yeah, that was the irritant of the hours. So one time my son, I wonder if I can even reactivate that one. I don't know how that goes, but if I can, I just might. Just so I could pull that shit up. But anyway, and prove it, nigga. My son's father commented, he said, wow, this is his comment on the thing. He just said, wow, you're just as beautiful, if not more, than I remember. That's all. Or you're still as beautiful, or something to that effect. That's all he said. I don't know what's wrong with that. He wasn't flirting with me. We're not together. We were not together. It wasn't even like that. And she made a comment about it. The reason why I'm saying it is because she made a comment about it to me. But this is also what let me know that she would be watching and paying attention. Even when she wasn't necessarily liking and commenting herself. This is why they start attacking our health and our well-being and our physicality. Again, it's still traced to all of this. This is why they get the surgeries, and this is why they do all these things. So she possibly thought that if she can get my son's dad, you know, that's that way. I'm telling y'all, they derive their strength and power through that. Like that was gonna mean she was just as bad or whatever. Like you, that's what's wrong with a lot of families. Like, what the fuck are you on? You're not supposed to be even competing with your own goddamn sister, bitch. Okay? What the fuck are you on? You're supposed to be a fucking example. A good goddamn example are you, huh? You're supposed to be an encouragement. You're supposed to be celebrating and cheerleading and want all that. You're their main hater. What kind of shit? But yet you want motherfuckers, nigga, please. Let me get back to what I'm saying. Nigga, please. I believe, I do. This is what I believe. I believe she possibly hit on him. She didn't hit on her friends, niggas, and shit. Oh, her friends might just be too dumb. You know what I'm saying? Can't see the shit. He dies. My son's father died a couple months after encountering her. Or a month after encountering her or something like that. Because she'd been tracing me. So they knew I'd reached out to him. Because, you know, folks are always in your business. I reached out to him to get some help with our son. Because I was trying to deal with this crazy shit show that I had landed in. Hold on.